Hi, everybody. I'm really, really excited to be here today. I have with me Ann Lane, and she is Conscious Preconception on Instagram, and her website is consciouspreconception.com. And today we're going to be talking about everything surrounding motherhood, fertility, detoxing, nutrients, nervous system, all of these things, how we can support ourselves and our children. And so I'm so happy and grateful that you're here. What I'd really like to, so can you tell us about yourself, your credentials? How did you get into this? Who are you?
Yes, yes, of course. First of all, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to your audience and to support other women and their desire to have the healthiest life possible, have healthy children, and conceive, the best or healthiest kids possible. So I'm an American. I've been living in Europe for 25 years. I'm a board certified naturopathic practitioner in Germany and have a specialty in fertility. I originally started off working with men, but mostly women in more of a hands-on capacity. I have a background in traditional Japanese medicine, the foundation of which is traditional Chinese medicine. And I've done a lot of hands-on work, everything from myofascial release to shiatsu, and even beyond that. And so I started specializing more in children and with Japanese methods of working with kids.
Mm.
And when I had children, that really came in handy. So
For
when it,
sure.
yeah, yeah. And so when it comes to this work, kind of the trigger for me, as it is, for you and most moms out there, is there's usually something that happens in our own lives that motivates us to change a path and to really focus on something that we probably hadn't even considered before. And the point came for me. I had my own fertility journey with my husband at the time. We ended up adopting two beautiful boys, which in Germany is next to impossible. They have a very low birth rate to begin with, and there's just not many kids that are able to be adopted. And our first son had a hard time in the beginning. He started missing milestones. He had severe asthma. And around when he was 9 months old, I knew enough from my medical education that something was off. And as a mom and all the moms out there, that your intuition it starts to go beyond that. It's not knowledge, it's your gut feeling. He said,
Yep.
something's just not right. So I went to the pediatrician, an old-fashioned German pediatrician who did not prescribe, antibiotics as the first route. Yeah, kind of impossible these days, but he was old school. I remember him telling me, Frau Lane, us German children would have died during World War II because there were no antibiotics. He's like, the body, right, is capable, even of children, of recovering from things. So, little side note. So anyway, my son was ill, went to the doctor, and he said, well, he's still on range. I'm like, my son is 9 months old and he doesn't sit. He's not sitting. He's not meeting these milestones as he should. So I started searching, and I went to the institute where I did part of my training and said, could you please help? Because they had more experience with children. In fact, one of them was a pediatrician that did at this institute. And so I got some exercises to help with my son, really working with the meridians, and things started progressing, but then not progressing again. So it was getting better, plateau, and then nothing. Turns out that basically I have a child who's now 15. He is still undiagnosed and still has significant motor developmental delays. But through therapy, through a number of things that I've done with him and other practitioners I've worked with, we've really gotten him to a point that, I mean, if you look at him, you don't think he's any different than anybody else, but he still has traces and elements of what he went through. And basically, I believe now that the majority of all of this was through his birth. There's some indications that he was exposed to a number of substances while in utero. And that's what we're seeing now, not just with my son, but with the spectrum kids, with ADD, ADHD. All of these neurological disorders have a root, right? Or many roots, let's put it that way, many different roots. But one of them that I'm highly concerned about is the amount of toxicants we're exposed to before we even get pregnant. And I'm talking about mom and dad, right? Because they're both 50% of the equation. And, they're in utero, they're being exposed to things. And then after birth, what they're exposed to just compiles on top of that. So it motivated me to really start taking a few steps back, saying, before we conceive children, we need to do more work. And
it's so needed. It's
yeah.
so needed. And I wish I would have known. And you know what? I wish I would have known to detox my body before I was going to get pregnant. Because what I did was I told my OB that I was trying to get pregnant, and they said, make sure you start on folic acid now. Okay. And I had no idea that I had MTHFR at that time.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're giving a woman who has MTHFR cannot break down a synthetic folic acid. It's harmful to me. And you have me on high amounts of that. And thank gosh, back then I was like hardcore vegan, didn't listen to anybody, which was also a big mistake. Okay. But it helped me in a way where I didn't listen to the doctors and what they were trying to tell me to do. And I didn't feel good on it. So I stopped taking it and I did my own thing. Okay. That was where my own mom intuition came in. But the whole point is I wish I would have known to detox my body instead of just tracking my cycle and saying, I'm ready. I'm 30 years old. I'm ready to have a baby, and just doing it without knowing proper nutrition. You know what I mean? Without my toxic load, thinking about my husband, my boyfriend at the time's toxic load. I just jumped right into that. And then you were the person who told me, and this made perfect sense to me because we hear it. Yes. Okay. The possibilities of heavy metals and toxins. There is research to support that they do pass through the umbilical cord, they pass through pregnancy. But you said we as mothers detox into our babies while we are pregnant. And the lights went off and I was like, oh my God, like you're right in the way that you put it versus the way that, oh, there's research to support that this does happen. But it's not like, no, we're detoxing into our children. That's what we're doing, right? There's two different perspectives, right? There's like the reality, which is true, because why our children are they're coming out with such heavy toxic loads. I mean, MTHFR, the inability to detox, all that stuff. And then what they want to give your child as soon as they come out and at the well visits. And then all of a sudden we're just seeing these things. We're seeing regressions. We're seeing the neurological disorders and all of those things. And even with moms who said, I never did those things at the well visits, right? But it's still environmental in a way of through utero, through generations, and the toxic exposure afterwards, right? So if you want to talk a little bit about that and like how moms, if you have, any information surrounding that and how moms can prepare themselves.
Yeah. So before I go on at all, I just want to say that this is not about mom guilt. This is not about shaming. And truly, you don't know what you don't know. And there are no official governmental organizations out there saying very clearly and very specifically, before you get pregnant, you need to do more than take folic acid, which is poison, regardless of MTHFR or not. It is synthetic. It is not absorbable. It is not helpful. Number two, they're not saying you need to do more than stop smoking, cut back the alcohol, and maybe lose some weight, because that's basically, and smoking, obviously, right? So those are the only things they're saying, and it's just not enough. In this day and age, we have very clear evidence that it's not enough. And so for moms who've already had kids, there's so much you can do to support your body before conceiving again. There's so much you can do to support your child's body. And we have the power, right? And we're it's a matter of getting the knowledge, implementing it, seeing what works and what doesn't. So the basic concepts I was exposed to when it comes to Japanese training and their view of thing is that basically at the moment of conception, that it's not just the egg and the sperm that come together to make a new life. It is the circumstances around that. It is the happiness, it's the pleasure or not pleasure. And the constitution of the child is determined in that moment. And in basically this philosophy, they call it Jing. So that's your underlying energetic constitution or foundation, right? And so once that's created, you can't change it. It can, be influenced, and all the things around it can be influenced, but that constitution is pretty much set. So that's why everything we can do beforehand to positively influence mom and dad, or, sperm donor, whatever, beforehand is really essential, because that's what's going to give our children the best potential health outcomes. And they knew this in so many cultures around the world. And many women will know these stories from their grandmothers, because often when a couple first got together, even before they got married, they were put on a special diet. They didn't call it a fertility diet.
Really?
Yeah. And this is, still going on. And if you look in Asia, so in India, China, etc., the emperors, the nobles, right? This class, they had specific partners selected, right? It was all prearranged, but they were put on special diets beforehand. And in China, they did special exercises. They would get special acupuncture to increase their qi, and, which works with the Jing. That's a little bit complicated, but basically, so that they had this power, right, before coming together and creating, this new human being. So fertility diets still exist in other parts of the world. This is something that I believe is also documented by Weston Price. So, yeah, great, amazing human being, right? A dentist who went around the world studying traditional cultures and what their, food and nutrition consisted of. And he noticed they don't have autism. They don't have kids with handicaps. They have
crooked teeth. They're crooked teeth. They don't have crooked teeth. It's from nutritional deficiencies. If you're getting braces, you're giving your kids braces. I had braces. My husband had braces. It's the diet you did. It's the diet we grow up on that's giving us crooked teeth.
Yeah, because our faces aren't wide enough. And the teeth, they're, quite poor quality to begin with because of the lack of nutrition, the lack of minerals, the lack of B vitamins, huge lack of vitamin A. Like, we're also told by doctors, vitamin A, it's dangerous during pregnancy, super high amounts. And that's true. But there was a study in 2014 that basically said that's kind of baloney. You have to have extremely high amounts of vitamin A.
If you drink a whole bottle of vitamin A, it's probably going to be harmful for you. Do you know what I mean? But is that really realistic? Is that realistic that we're going to take too much vitamin A in pregnancy?
Not with the way we eat these days. And if you compare, you can have 10,000 IUs a day, and studies show that's still safe even during pregnancy. And women aren't getting anywhere near that, nowhere near that.
No,
and in
but
these
they'll scare you away from taking it by saying it's dangerous, and that's what they do.
Well, they don't know, right? I mean, because there was a study that said, oh, this is dangerous. But then there's another study that comes out, but that newer one, the newer evidence doesn't get circulated. There was a study done in the United States. How long does it take between the publication of new science that completely contradicts old beliefs until it's implemented in an American doctor's office? What do you think the average is?
Probably a very long time.
17 years.
Oh my gosh.
That is the average between new information like vitamin A, is a simple example, right? Until it's implemented. So if you imagine a cardiologist who isn't up on his game and implementing the newest information, 17 years later, that patient's dead, Yep. So we are in an age where we have the possibility to inform ourselves. We have the possibility to look in other directions, but we have to be very wise where we get our information. And we have the right to question things. And as moms, we really need to. we really need to question things.
Yes, we do. We need to tap back into our own intuition and listen to our spirit, you know, on what's and also, but dive into, you know, this naturopathic medicine and go and, you know, finding people like you who they resonate with and listen to and, you know, be guided. So, okay. So I want to just check back in with, because we wrote some things, some topics down that we wanted to talk about. Okay. Now, do you want to talk about your package that you do have or what we can do to support, you know, nutritionally? Do you have a special diet that you work when you work with clients that you would give them or any tips that you have now? I know that you have a package, a bundle for moms who are trying to conceive. Do you want to go? Let's go into that. It's a great segue into what you have to support them to offer.
Yeah, thank you for leading into that, because I can get so deep in this, I forget about what can people do.
Yeah.
So since December, I have been writing a bundle for women who want to conceive and do it on their own. And so when it comes to nutrition, that's just one part of the picture. So I believe and know in my heart that we need to prepare a minimum of 6 months in advance, right? Traditional Chinese cultures would be a year in advance, but at least 6 months in advance. So the first 3 months, why do I say 6 months? Because for a woman, it takes 3 months for a pre-selected egg. That's a year in advance. Pre-selection is a year in advance, but for follicles to start developing and maturing eggs, that takes 3 months. So if you want to have 3 months. So you want to have the best eggs possible. For men, for sperm, it's 72 days, between 72 and 90, depending upon the literature you look at. So men need to do the same thing as women. You need to prepare, right? So we've got 3 months. And so if you work the 3 months before that, now we have our 6 months before conceiving. And in these 3 months, let's focus on optimizing nutrition. That depends on you, the way you eat and what that means. I do not tell anyone that there's one fertility diet, right? Number 2, detoxification. That actually needs to start right away when you say, hey, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ready. You know, my man and I, we're in a good space. You need to give yourself time. And the craziest thing that I'm going to say right now is for women that are 35 and older, want to get pregnant, they often feel this, I got to do it now. I got to do it now.
Yep.
But, right, every day my eggs are getting older, but you can rejuvenate your eggs. You can clear out your system and have much better outcomes, whether it's IVF or natural conception. It does not matter. If you prepare, if you take more time and prepare those eggs, you will have better quality eggs. I have I spent a year and a half with a specialist out of San Francisco just for fertility training. And that is what she only deals with Silicon Valley, highly stressed, highly, the A moms, right? The type A moms. And their partners. And that's what she emphasized over and over again. Prepare, make quality eggs. It doesn't matter if you only have 5 eggs in that cycle. If they are good eggs, it's going to work.
Yeah.
And it's going to stick, right? So preparation is everything. So you asked about fertility diet. I thought, all this information I have is fairly, easy and straightforward. And I started writing about it. I have 17 pages to say just about the fertility diet and what to look at. So, in a nutshell.
Well, get with you for the fertility. Okay.
Yeah, there's, just get the bundle,
Okay, talk about that, please.
Yeah, so my bundle currently, it keeps expanding, but currently after it's awful. I keep writing and my partner's like, no, just put it out, it's good enough. So I have somatic exercises, things to support the nervous system, right? Because if we're in fight, flight, or freeze all the time, who can conceive that way? Because we're just wired.
Well, yeah, but that's also the energy that the child's going to take on right in conception. So
right. So we want to, just lay the foundation. So I have that in there. Fertility diet, I already talked about that. Detoxification, that's another 15 pages on that. It's not complicated, but I write it in a way that you can really follow it and do it on your own. And if you need help and need support, I'm obviously here for that too.
It's just a lot of information that you're giving to these people. And we don't want that. Like, I don't want you guys to be like, oh God, like that's a little too much, a little too overwhelming. It's not that. She's just giving you all of the information and proper steps and things like that. So please
Proper
don't be
steps, right? So if
overwhelmed.
you had
Yeah.
a video for a half an hour, it would probably be the same amount of information.
Yeah.
Think of it
Yep.
that
Yep.
way,
Hmm.
right? I have spent a lot of time working on basal body temperature charting.
What's that?
So
Can you dive into that a little bit, please?
yeah, I'd love to. That's what I've been doing the last 3 days.
Okay.
So basal body temperature is basically, as a woman, right, it's called biphasic. You have your ovulatory part of your cycle and you have your luteal phase. But I believe there's actually 4 parts of the cycle. The menstrual part, where you're actually bleeding on your period, then ovulation, your estrogen's peaking, right? Everything's getting ready to release that egg. Ovulation is its own event. That's number 3. And number 4 would be the luteal phase. So as I told you, it takes about 3 months for follicles to ripen and develop, right? And mature. And then 1 follicle will be chosen, maybe 2 in the case of fraternal twins, but let's just say 1 in this case. And we don't know why this follicle is chosen to mature. That's still a mystery. And then it will release an egg, and what's left behind turns into something called the corpus luteum. It's actually yellow. It's tons of cholesterol in there. And this starts producing 4 different hormones. The most important one is progesterone. And progesterone is pro-gestation. It is anti-anxiety. It is warming, and it basically gets the endometrial lining all prepped and ready so that if an egg that is released goes through, meets with a sperm, it has a nice little nest to implant in, right? And then that's, basically, this produces the progesterone, I want to say for 7 weeks or so, until the placenta takes over, right? At some point, the placenta takes over, and then you get more progesterone. Progesterone warms up the body. So in the morning, this is kind of an old-fashioned way of doing it, but it works really well because it tells you so much. You take your temperature, and then you see what it is, and then you chart it. Some women use an app, that's fine, and someone actually use an old-fashioned piece of paper. The thing with the apps is that most apps use a logarithm to tell you when you're going to be fertile. So it's not 100% based on your data, depending on the app, right? So the logarithm can be helpful or not. What the logarithm does not tell you is all the other patterns in there. If you track your morning temperature, plus or minus an hour when you get up in the morning, and this is before you have anything to drink, before sitting up, you just take and go bloop, right? You will see that spike in temperature. And that spike is what tells you, I probably 99% chance actually did ovulate, an egg was released, and I've got progesterone.
Ooh.
And when I look at these charts, I can tell you if your thyroid is working. I can tell you if your digestion is off. I can tell you if you have leaky gut. And if you have 18 consecutive high temperatures in a row, you're pregnant. You don't need a pregnancy test. It's all there. Your body tells you everything.
Every mom right here watching is like, oh yes, so I just need 18. You know what I mean? They'll just take their temp every day,
Right. And some people are like, why? Why do I want to take my temperature? It only takes a minute, right into that little beep.
Yep.
You write it down and you're pretty much done. Now, there are some other signs of when you ovulate, because for some women, they don't want to do their temperature, right? Even in the human body, this is really wild, is your saliva will tell a woman if she's ovulating or not.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called ferning. And it's the similar structure is actually in the cervical fluid when a woman is ovulating.
Okay.
So it looks like a fern. You take a little bit of your saliva and you put it on a glass slide and you put it under a very cheap microscope at home.
Right. Yeah.
And you can see it looks like a fern.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that these women are loving these little tips. So, all right. I want to talk about, if we can, reasons on why we're seeing so many miscarriages, reasons on so many pregnancy losses. And I know this is going to be a huge big blanket, but in your experience, what is the most common?
Miscarriage is a very difficult one, because there's a number of different issues. First of all, hormonal. Is the woman getting enough progesterone? If her progesterone is up and down, if she's not producing enough, unfortunately, that lining on the endometrium where the placenta goes through and the egg is attached isn't going to hold. So hormones is a big part of the issue.
Okay.
The second one, I would, number two was a tie between stress and mitochondrial issues. So the mitochondria are little powerhouses in the cells. We all learn in biology class, they make ATP, it's a little battery. You need an incredible amount of energy to make a baby because it goes from just 2 cells coming into 1, into 4, into 8, right? And into thousands of cells within an hour at a certain point, right? So this takes a lot of power and energy. If a woman's run down, if a woman is depleted, for example, if a woman has just come off the pill, said, hey, I am ready to go, I want to get pregnant now, I can tell you right now, she is automatically low in B vitamins, magnesium, and zinc. And the B vitamins are our stress vitamins. So she encounters stress from work life and from this and from that. And at some point, there's just not going to be enough in order to power your mitochondria, right? This is a very simplified picture. People are going, wait, you're not just powered by B vitamins. They're not, but nutrition in general, right? Because you're going to need this nutrition for stressors. Because how the human body works is that reproduction is the lowest priority that your body has. The highest priority is survival. It makes biological sense, right? So survival, that means blood to your brain, it means breathing, it means heart pumping, and it means kidneys functioning. Number 2 is digestion. Number 3 or 4 is reproduction.
Okay. So this is how we connect MTHFR to infertility and losses, because if we're not getting enough natural B vitamins, we're supplementing with the folic acid. It's the last on the list and it's blocked off. It also binds to your folate receptors, blocking it even more. So even if you do get some natural. So, okay, thank you for really breaking that down for me. I haven't necessarily dived into that gene mutation and infertility, although I know it's a big thing and things like that. So thank you so much for breaking that down. Okay.
And that connection you just made is absolutely brilliant, right? And that's what's going on. So moms may be saying, well, I can't take folic acid. What should I take? Folate, 5-methylfolate, or folinic acid if you have MTHFR, but get tested. I know you've had a previous interview with that fabulous naturopathic doctor. It starts with a K, Catherine. I can't remember. Caitlin. Okay. Caitlin, she was fabulous. And she was talking about over-methylators and under-methylators. So I just want to say for anyone who has MTHFR, to not only get tested, but to see if you're an over-methylator or under-methylator. If you're an over-methylator, if you start taking a bunch of folate, it may get you anxious and not feeling very well.
Irritable. Yeah.
And this can happen to your children too, right? And so there's different teachers of us practitioners, and Dr. Ben Lynch is one that I followed and had some training with. And basically he says, take a multivitamin. Everybody needs one, right? Because our soils are depleted. We're not getting enough nutrition. And if you have MTHFR in particular, don't take one with folate or, tetramethylfolate, anything in it. Have that as a separate supplement and start building your intuition for yourself and also for your children. And I love it when he said this, because he said, feel into it. Do I need my folate today or not? And just take it when you need it. We are not machines. We do not need the same nutrients every day. We don't need the same amount of medication every day, right? 500 milligrams, 500 milligrams. We're not robots. And women, we have these monthly cycles, right? Everything kind of goes up and down. So why not feel into, nutrients and when you need them or not?
Oh, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. And I was actually just reading another Instagram post, and another holistic practitioner was like, take a break from your supplements sometimes. take those breaks. You don't need to keep going every single day. Just check in with your body, take a break. I mean, our livers, everything, our organs need a break. I'm breaking that stuff down. Get it from your diet. So for B vitamins for, women who have MTHFR or wanting to get pregnant, as far as diet, we're gonna talk about what? Meats, right? Is right. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that real quick?
So meats and greens, carbohydrates are really getting a bad rap right now, and everyone is into the high fat, ketosis or carnivore. When you want to conceive, this is not a time for extreme diets. It's not the time for veganism, and it's not right. And the other end of the spectrum would be carnivore or ketosis.
Yep.
Right. And it may work for your body, it may feel great, but the simple fact is that there's some very simple things that our body needs as a signal of safety. Signals of safety calm our anxiety and calm our nervous system. And it starts with food. In the morning, we women need to eat. We need breakfast.
Okay. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
We don't
do
need
not
to
need a cup of
fast
coffee.
we don't need to fast and all of those things. Like, people, and I've even thought about it where it's like, should I be fasting? I'm gonna, is it gonna age me less if I fast? All these things. Do we need to eat 3 times a day, or is that just the government trying to tell you to eat a lot of food? Like, how do you know?
You were asking some brilliant questions, right? This is the time of asking these questions. And how does it work for me? How do I feel? I'm just talking about the fertility phase. If you want to try out fasting, if you want to do ketosis, feel free, but not when you're about to get pregnant, right? We got the 6 months beforehand at least. And not when you're breastfeeding, and not when you're exhausted. So many people are already fatigued, and then they want to do something extremely strenuous to their system. You got to be careful with that one. Yeah, so intermittent fasting can be great, not in the fertility phase.
Okay, so we need to eat in the mornings.
We need to eat in the morning. And if you want to do a fast, 12 hours is easy. I don't think that hurts anybody, and it actually encourages elimination.
Okay.
In a very big way. And constipation will throw your hormones off. No sleep, no good sleep. You can't have good hormones without sleep, right? So kind of going back to that, I forgot your question all this time.
Oh, it was just about diet, and
Diet.
eating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So the 6 months are not a time for extremes. Veganism, my mentor, she was a vegan, had a healthy pregnancy, has a healthy child. Absolutely, it can work, but I don't recommend it for most people because something in between is important. And we women also need carbohydrates. Carbohydrates feed our nerves, they calm us, and they have good carbohydrates like millet, buckwheat, things that are gluten-free grains. I'm talking about grains, I'm going there, are actually very good for us in the fertility phase. And that's something that, carbs are bad. Right. Anyone who's saying this is 100% bad and this is 100% good, I've just started to find suspicious.
Yeah.
Like, is there any nuance in there? Yeah. In general, yes, meat is going to give you more. If we go to ancestral diets, it's always meat that's organ-based. There's always some type of organs in there. I have to be honest here. I've only been a non-vegetarian for 2 months.
Okay.
I was a vegetarian for over 30 years. Okay. And organ meats are just not my thing. It may not be other women's things, but I do recommend, for example, organ meats is liver, dried encapsulated liver. This is pregnancy and fertility. You can stay on those really good prenatals for a long time. Yeah, they are very, very supportive. And liver is a great way to get it. You get iron, and you're going to get B12 and folate in forms that your body can actually assimilate regardless of your genetics.
So that would be really great for people who don't want to eat the organ meats. We get the freeze-dried organ meats right in pill capsule form.
Exactly.
Okay. And then also, I'm just checking in on our list. Okay. As far as prenatals, do you have some on your website that you recommend just for these moms who are like, but which kind do I get? Do you know what I mean? But it's very, very confusing.
It is very confusing, and that's why I wrote about 5 pages about it on my prenatal guide. That's also part of my bundle. It is such a minefield because there's no one prenatal that's perfect for every woman,
Of course not.
everywhere around the world,
Everybody
and for
is
everybody.
different.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have a lot of guidelines, and
Okay.
basically in the bundle, what I talk about a lot is what you need to avoid. So that doesn't matter if it's a prenatal,
Perfect.
if it's a vitamin for your husband, if it's a vitamin for your dog, or for your child, because there's a number of elements. And I write in there, if you see these things, this is what it will do to your body. I also write about where to buy them. Amazon has not high quality vitamins. There's a lot of fakes that are on there that have the labels of what you want, but are not truly the ingredients you want. So I recommend,
What?
yeah,
Oh
yeah, yeah.
no.
In the naturopathic circles
Oh,
I'm in, particularly in the United States, yeah,
oh well,
it's
I'm not actually surprised. I mean,
it's a huge, huge problem. So if you order them, iHerb is reputable, and directly from the manufacturers, that always will work. And get on their mailing list. They're going to send you special offers at least 3 times a year, and then you can stock up and save some money. So prenatals in general, what I tell people is to look for something that does not have iron in it, because iron is highly oxidative in the body. If you already have enough iron stores and circulating iron in your body, taking additional iron can actually hurt you. And with MTHFR, what we want to avoid is having too many oxidants in the body, where we need the antioxidants in order to take them back out, because detoxification is already affected. We want to, limit the amount of toxicants in the body. So something like that would be as a toxicant, and it's just extra stress for the body. So
sure.
that's number one. Not with iron. I know this surprises everybody.
Yeah.
But if you don't need it, you don't need it. If you're deficient in iron, the tiny or small, I shouldn't say tiny, but small amount that's in a prenatal is not nearly enough to cover your needs. So I'll see women, they have an iron deficiency, and they're like, oh, but it's in my prenatal. I'm fine. No. If what you need to fill is such a big gap, that's not going to touch it. And so they're under this illusion. And iron deficiency is also a reason for difficulties getting pregnant. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, something not covered. So what else about prenatals? Yeah, I already mentioned that you can take them for a very long time. A lot of people think that it's only when you're pregnant. Prenatals actually need to start in the 6-month phase that I talk
Okay.
about, so you can start building up your nutrients. There are some companies, for example, what comes to mind in the States, Fertility. Fertility is a good one. They
Okay.
don't have iron in it, and it was actually created by a nutritionist
Okay.
as specifically a prenatal. And I believe they also have one for men. In general, like really, really in general, like I said, liver. Liver is also,
Okay.
anything that's liver based, right?
And
Has other forms
also
of.
high in minerals. So this is a really great segue into talking about minerals and how important they are and how we're very much depleted.
Mm, minerals. Yes, yes, yes. I could talk for hours about minerals.
Can
It's a
we try and
passion
talk
project.
about minerals for moms and minerals for children?
Minerals for moms and children. Okay, let's just go over really quickly. How do you know if you're
Yes,
deficient in
please.
minerals? The number one sign I see in women is that they say, oh, I have to pee all the time,
Mm,
and I'm always drinking water. That is a very clear sign that you're low in minerals, because your body is getting you to drink a ton of water in order to get minerals. Because it's not just from the food we eat, they're also dissolved in water, and our body knows
wow.
that. It's like, give me more, give me more, give me more. I need the
Yeah.
minerals.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're drinking water, hopefully that's been properly filtered, right? Because tap water, no go. It doesn't matter where in the world you live.
Spring water with actual minerals in it.
I am so impressed. Oh my goodness. So spring water in a glass bottle, excellent. No plastic bottles. And so your body wants minerals. So that's the first sign. The other sign that you can easily assess yourself is hair, skin, and nails. Are my nails growing? Are my nails thick? Yeah, when women go on prenatals, like, oh my
Oh,
God, my
right.
nails are
Your
thick,
hair grows, your nails grow. Wow.
right? Oh,
Okay.
that's great. My skin is glowing. There you
Yes.
go.
Okay.
Because your body has priorities. Reproduction is not the most important. So it's the same with minerals and vitamins. If you've got whatever's left over, it's going to go to the beauty centers. It's going to go to the nails and the
Okay.
skin and the hair.
Okay.
So that's another sign. If you're like fidgety or you jump, like you're jumpy, or extreme cases or something called pica. This is where people do kind of weird things like lick rocks.
Okay.
This exists.
Okay.
Or, yeah, I had a neighbor who did that. I caught her. It's like she's
Geez.
licking a rock. That's
Okay.
literally your body trying to get minerals from the earth,
Sure.
right?
Makes sense.
The other one, full disclosure here, I had something for a period of time. My children were small. I was working 2 jobs. I was extremely stressed, and I started chewing ice cubes like crazy.
That's a thing. That is a thing.
That is this symptom. That is a very clear sign that you're low in iron. So I had an iron deficiency and didn't know it. I figured out a few years later what actually that was going on. So at that time, just to put it in context, I was not living in the States. I wasn't eating or drinking or using ice ever, and I couldn't stop doing that. So if you have weird little behaviors like that, weird little cravings, your body is really trying to get minerals. Minerals are the basis of everything in the body. They build teeth, they build bones, and that's what we really, and we don't need just one mineral, like, oh, calcium for bones. That's not how it works, not ever. We need boron, we need magnesium, right? We need variety. So that's about that. So when women start taking minerals, they notice things are changing. They're not as anxious, they're not as jumpy. Their bowel movements are so easy. Bowel movements should be you sit in the toilet and you're done in the same amount of time as when you go to pee.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it should be. If it's not, you got to start checking into things and figuring things out, whether it's your diet or your nervous system or whatever. Okay, so minerals are really good to take all day long. And there's different ways of taking minerals. I'll first give a suggestion for moms who are on a budget and want to do it simple and easy. And this is for moms, for kids, for dads, maybe
Can
not for
we
pets.
can we talk about mineral depletion in children really quick? In let's talk about those for the moms because this is huge.
Right. So mineral depletion for children, you might see it on their nails breaking quite a bit. They might have dry patches, flaky skin. That can be vitamins or minerals. Skin issues can often be a sign of it. And minerals in children, when they're not getting enough magnesium, I mean, the most obvious one is constipation. There's a few different factors that go into childhood constipation, but I still find that lack of magnesium is one of the main ones.
The big ones, and then the dark circles under the eyes as well.
Yeah, the dark circles under the eyes, that can be liver. In Chinese medicine, that's more the kidney.
Kidneys, yep.
That's
Electrolytes.
using up more of your vital energy more quickly
Yep.
than you should
Yep.
because you're not getting qi literally from the air or from the nutrients that you eat. So you're draining your own body. In Western medicine, it's more for allergies and nutritional deficiencies. Yeah.
Okay. So what can we take?
So we can take a lot of things. And the first one that I love to recommend is the one and what I absolutely love is fulvic minerals. This is such a great concentration of minerals. You don't need a lot and you can take it very easily.
And your kids too,
Trace,
for children.
yeah, so easy for kids and it's tasteless. This one, trace mineral drops. You start off with 10 in a glass of water and then you can work up to 40. This is amazing.
So 40 a day or in
40 a day, 40 drops a
40
day.
a day. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so this bottle is a 96-day supply. So when you see the price of it, I don't know how much it is in the States right now, but divide that by 3 months and it's very, very affordable. I think it's about $12 or something a month. Right. So for us women, your adrenal glands, we know that when you get stressed, they're going to shoot out a lot of adrenaline or cortisol. Cortisol affects a lot of different things in the bodies. It steals progesterone, right? Your body has to make a choice whether it produces cholesterol or it produces progesterone. And we know progesterone, progestation, right? So that's how stress can really affect. That's why I said probably number 2 for miscarriages or difficulties getting pregnant. So what can we do? We have to support our adrenal glands. We have to lower our stress. There's many different ways to do that. But one thing I do personally every morning is I take this. It's from a company called Jigsaw, and it's called Adrenal Cocktail. It's only 3 ingredients. This is vitamin C, because our adrenal glands have the highest concentration of vitamin C in the entire body.
Wow.
I love vitamin C. Yeah, really good for hormones. Yeah, stress, antibacterial, antiviral. I mean, vitamin C is amazing. And this is a natural whole food form of vitamin C. I do not recommend ascorbic acid, right? And what else does it have in here? Redmond sea salt, quite a bit. For a lot of sodium, we need sodium for energy in our body. And then potassium. So sodium and potassium, when you start building up your stores of it, you'll have more energy. You'll be able to deal with your children so much, more easily and remain centered. Yeah. And since we have this long period of time while we're sleeping and we're not drinking anything, that's why I really like ladies to drink something in the morning. Right.
And what do you think about, I mean, in our society, we only have like iodized table salt, which is, what the heck is, you know what I mean? Like, that is not enough. That's not okay. You need quality salt, the sea salt, the Celtic salt. What do you recommend? Please tell us, what do you recommend? And do we put a pinch of it in our water every day too? Like, tell us, please. And our kids, like, they need salt. Our adrenals need it.
Yeah. They need salt. That's the sodium. In fact, this, the adrenal cocktail is very salty because we need it. We need a lot of it. So I'm glad you brought this up, because salt is kind of controversial right now too, because should I use sea salt? Should I use Himalayan salt? What's the differences? And Himalayan salt, some people may not know, is often processed in Pakistan by using explosives. Yeah. So the residue of these explosives will land on Himalayan salt, and you're taking that in. Okay. Not all of them are produced that way. Some of them are. So you really need to feel it intuitively. Is this brand something I can take or not? Yeah. Right? Salt from different locations will have different nutrients and different properties. And I believe it's good to have different types of salt and use them. Sea salt is great, but recently it's been found to have quite a bit of microplastic. That's also not too fantastic. Okay. But not all of them, right? Irish sea salt was found to be one of the best for this particular problem.
Celtic, is that what you're talking about? Celtic sea salt, or just
Celtic sea salt? Yeah, exactly. Okay. Irish moss, Celtic sea salt.
Yeah.
And then, so when it comes to salt, Redmond sea salt, right? It's mined out of the ground. That seems to be like one of the best ones that you can buy. There are others. Use your intuition, ask them if they do third-party testing. Here, there's one out of Iceland that has really high quality, and it's quite big granules. So you can take a large granule of salt, sea salt, put it on your tongue, and then drink water and have it dissolve slowly. Salt is a crystal. It has crystal properties. Crystals are good for us and can help us really calm down again. So salt, I wanted to give you a really low cost way of getting minerals, and that would be to drink sole water. Sole water.
Oh, yeah. Explain that, please. I've seen this before. Please explain how to do that. It's so simple and easy.
It is simple, easy, and this is one of the things where women start going, something's going on here.
Yeah.
I feel better. I've got my libido back, Okay. So it feeds your cells. And so what you do is you take a glass jar, like your old pickle jar, wash it out, and the bottom, a little bit less than a fourth. Okay. So, a fourth or less, you're going to put your good quality salt in there, and then you're going to fill it up with water. Shake it up, let it sit overnight. And then in the morning, if you still see a little bit of salt in there, that's great, because that's the percent of dissolution that we want. If everything's dissolved, you need to add more salt into it. It's not saturated yet. Okay, so shake it up. So what you're going to do in the morning is you're going to open up that jar. You're going to take out 1 teaspoon and you're going to add it to a glass of filtered water and drink it. And you can do that in the morning. You can do it in the afternoon, but even just once a day, if that's all you remember, it's a little miracle. And over time, you're going to find that you actually start to feel better. And again, digestion, elimination is usually the first place where people see that.
Wow. And it's because of the mineral. What is it in there? Is it the sodium in there? Is it what's in? what actual minerals in that salt, do you think?
Well, there's more, like, in some salts have over 70. Some of them are just trace minerals, and they're not, listed on the package because they're just such small amounts. So it's hard to say what exactly it is, but I think our cells are just getting nourished.
Yeah.
And I believe that we're actually getting better structured water in our body, because we actually have 4 phases of water, not 3. Have you heard about that?
No.
We have, liquid, we have steam, we have frozen, which we learn in school. And the 4th phase is from Professor Gerald Pollack. I heard him speak in Frankfurt 3 years ago, and I'll never forget it. And he's written a book called The 4th Phase of Water. And there's scientific evidence behind this, that basically our cells create energy, and the pump for our blood, our heart can't pump everything through our body. You would need a heart the size of a house to get through all of the miles of connections that we have in our body. It's actually something called structured water, which is like a gel. It's a 4th phase of water, and it's like a gel, and we need electrocurrent. This is what grounding does. It helps restructure the cells in our body. And minerals also are an electricity giver and receiver.
Yep.
Right.
Conductor,
so this
right?
On exchange. Yeah. Is contributing to the structured water. So that's my personal belief.
Wow.
I haven't science behind that.
Yeah, I mean, also if you want to get like on a spiritual level, and like a lot of us have moved away from that spirituality. I have the Somavedic, radiation, the number G protector, and if I set my water next to it, and it structures the water from the frequency it sends out. So it's just so important. And spring water is structured, is it not?
It is. It is, because it's the vortex movement and the movement of water that structures it. And if we're drinking filtered water, it's not
dead
structured.
water.
It's
dead water. It doesn't have life because of the molecular structure. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just give a quick thing.
Yeah.
How to test if you have enough iodine, because you had a great, we need more iodine, and people, believe that we're getting enough from table salt. There was a study done, and they tested over 35 different types of salt. I don't remember which country it was, and they found that only 3 of them had the amount of iodine that was listed on the package. They don't have enough. And why does this happen? This is actually very easy to explain. It's not necessarily the manufacturer's fault, because iodine dissipates in air. So it's literally disappearing from our salt, and over time, more and more of the iodine will dissipate into the air, right? It's the same thing as being on the coastline. We absorb iodine from the water, right? From the air. So how do you know if you're low in iodine? Simple, easy test. What's it called in the States? The little bottles of mercurochrome, the red, the iodine bottles.
I use the Lagules.
The red stuff.
I think it's called Lagules. That's the one that is a popular brand as well.
Not that you consume. Oh. I'm talking about the iodine that goes on your skin when you cut yourself, and it's red.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. And like the medical field and stuff, they use that as well.
Exactly. And I mean, when I was a kid, my mom was a nurse, and so she always used iodine. It's red, and it can stain your clothes, and it's really stupid, but it's cheap, and it's a great antiseptic, and that's why it's used on wounds and before surgery and stuff. So what you do, simple test, you take it, and you're going to put it on the inside of your elbow. Okay, and you're going to put like 2 or 3 drops, let it sit there for a second. And again, be careful, because it stains clothes, right? So whatever's underneath it could possibly get stained. And then once whatever runs off, you're going to let that dry and see how long that red stain remains on your skin. Mm-hmm. And it should remain there if you have enough iodine in your body for at least 18 hours.
Yeah.
I have yet to find anyone who has it.
It's gone in like 4 hours. Gone.
So you need more iodine. Iodine is the biggest reason for iodine deficiency is the biggest reason for fibroids in women.
Okay.
And for breast pain, breast cysts, and fibrocystic breasts, which have been indicated as a potential contributing factor to breast cancer.
Wow. Lack of iodine.
Not directly. Fibrocystic breasts have been connected to, right? But if you can take iodine and you don't have the fibrocystic breasts, interesting connection there. Mm-hmm. I personally found that by taking iodine, I wasn't a crazy PMS person anymore. I no
Wow.
longer have PMS.
What,
Zero.
wow. So what do you recommend? So obviously women taking that test, but what do you recommend as a supplementation for iodine? Like how many drops should you do a day? Is it daily? Is it a few times a week? What do you suggest as far as that? Just like obviously blanket term, everybody's different, but
Right. So this is educational purposes only,
correct,
right? I
correct.
can't give medical
Everything
advice.
on here, we're,
Yeah.
yeah.
To put a disclaimer on the video listing. So I can't make a blanket statement
Right.
because iodine is one of those things. If you have thyroid issues, you do need to be careful.
Mhm.
Nonetheless, you can take iodine. We have to kind of keep it in perspective. Women in Japan get over 4 grams of iodine, through their seafood-based diet.
Yep.
Women in the United States, maybe get 500 micrograms. And so if you supplement with a very low amount, doesn't matter what form you take. Here in Europe, you can go to a pharmacy and just get a package of little tablets that dissolve in your mouth for €5, which is like $5. And that's like for a month and a half. This is super cheap, ladies, and you'll feel so much better. And if you take micrograms, 100 micrograms to 200 micrograms a day, you will feel a difference, but it might take 6 weeks, right?
Sure.
Without irritating your thyroid, which is the important part. We want balance. So staying within, starting off with 200 micrograms, I have yet to see it be a problem for a woman.
Okay.
If you're concerned about it, just take 100 micrograms. And again, we're talking micrograms, not milligrams, because those Japanese women are getting 4 milligrams and more a day.
Wow.
Yeah, so we
Wow.
can consume a lot more than we think. Some people take sea kelp. Again, if it's being shipped and delivered, and if that takes months, it's possible that the iodine is no longer present. So for women who really are deficient, I do recommend taking something that is specifically just an iodine supplement. And also you can see when I take this, how do I feel? Yeah.
Well, wow. Well, I believe we're going to have to do a part two, possibly 3 or 4. I know that there were a lot of other topics like nervous system regulation, how it is, and how we can support our bodies and our children's bodies, especially those with neurological disorders and things that's going on, and how the relationship between the energy and the stress level really can send both beings, both people over the edge, and that synergistic relationship. And just moms taking care of themselves when you have a child, just in general. And we were talking about this earlier before we started. When you have a child in general, it's hard. But when we have a child that has special needs and needs more time and attention, it is even more stressful. And also moms just lose their identity with trying to fix things. So, it's like this synergistic relationship that we need of calmness and support and all these things. So I know that we really wanted to go over that topic, but we'll have a whole video for that. So I really want to thank you for your time and your expertise and all of this wealth of knowledge that you have poured on us today. And again, ladies, if you want to get in touch with Anne, she is Conscious Preconception right on Instagram, consciouspreconception.com. I know that she's available to speak with you, whatever you need, just reach out to her. And also, if you guys have any other topics, you can put them right down in the comments section or reach out to us directly. And we would love to talk about those. So thank you so much, Anne, for being here. And
Thank you, Jen.
it's really been a pleasure.
Yeah, and thank you so much for the work that you do in helping and supporting these moms too.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
amazing.
Okay, bye.